Mind Wars. Welcome. Sisters and brothers, this is book 2, Mind Wars. We need to really understand mind wars because that is what this is all about. It's the battle of the minds. That's what this is all about. So we're going to go into a little more detail tonight. Try to make it more understandable so you have a better understanding of what's going on in your reality, our reality. There's a general reality. There's a personal reality. Everyone has their own reality. You have to build your reality. But our realities coincide with each other if we are the same people. It's like each one of your cells work together to maintain your body. So like some of you may like chocolate cake and some of you may not. Those are two different realities. We can't force one reality on another. So in the hereafter, you have to bring forth your reality, which will come forth from within you. That's primarily the reason why I do not dictate to anyone what they should not be doing. That's to come from within them. We can force it from the outside in. That's in part what Elijah was doing. He forced Islam from the outside within, and it served its purpose. But that's not how things will be done. It has to come from within outward. Because when you force it from the outside within, it only lasts as long as you forcing it from the outside within. So when Elijah departed, it disappeared because the force that was the outside force didn't exist anymore. So the whole thing unraveled. So we're not going to do that here. We're not criticizing him and saying, no, he did what he's supposed to do. There's no criticism what he did. He did what he's supposed to do. But he was prepared to wait for someone else. Where it says, Elijah will prepare the way before me. Who is he talking about? Who is this me? It's not Farad, because Farad prepared the way for Elijah. Elijah was supposed to prepare the way for Joshua, the angel, which we will talk about in a minute. So that was his purpose, to do that. And so they were supposed to carry forward, build a bridge between Elijah and Joshua, which they failed to do. Because the hope was, well, if you read Ezekiel, what did Ezekiel tell you? There was 2 resurrections, but the first one had no spirit because the resurrection was forcing them from the outside in. So it had no spirit. See, the second resurrection, right? That's the one the angel will bring about. See, they had spirit because it came from the outside, from the inside outward. So it was 2 resurrections. The first one had no spirit. So it had its issues. That's why I said they were baptized with water. But the one after him, Joshua baptized them with fire. Okay, brothers and sisters, on the left, you see there, that's the correct configuration. If you notice in my previous one, it was I noticed that the fulcrum, that's the pyramid under, was on the wrong side. So I corrected here. So if those of you noticed it, then you can check the correction, which would give you, in that scenario, right, where the grafted man, he would have the leverage for 6,000 years up to now. Now it's balanced. Time of consequence. See, time of justice. See? So now it's time for them to pay for their deeds. And then hereafter, right, we would have the advantage, the leverage, which means be a time of forgiveness. Though your sins were dark as night, they'd be as white as snow. See, on the top there, right, it was a time of what they call it, what the Christians call it, I can't think of a name right now, I'm fasting, so I forget the name they use, but what it means is that oh, the time of grace. That means they wouldn't experience the consequence of their actions, and that's the basis of Christianity. Because you can do all the evil you want to, just believe in Jesus and it's forgiven. So you continue doing it. And we say in the Catholic Church, you can go out and kill everybody you want to. Just come in and confess, and that's the nature of it. But the age of grace is over now. Now is a time of consequence, which will lead to the age of mercy. That's why it says, Allah in the Quran says, I have ordained mercy on myself. Why? What do you mean by that? Okay, I'm not going to go into all the details I talked about in the previous one. But here we're talking about the mind wars. So we're going to go, it's not lengthy, not that it matters, but I think it's going to be detailed enough so you have a better understanding. Now, to set things up, your brain is your hardware. See? Your mind is your software that runs on your brain. And every brain was designed, right? Every brain, there's every brain, right, has a particular software that can run on it, right, with no conflicts, efficiently. But if you put the wrong software on it, there's going to be some problems. So nowadays, the way we understand religion is your software, because everyone's life in this age is pretty much defined by their religion. So religion is your base software. And your religion comes from some scripture. So that's your base software. So if you have the wrong software installed, you may have a problem. So if your life is in chaos, conflicting, unraveling, distorted, it may be because you run the wrong software. If you're self-destructive, you definitely run the wrong software. And if you allow we do have enemies. In this reality, every nation are quasi-independent, meaning that you look at each nation like it's a person. And if I try to put my genetic material into your body, it will reject it. The Bible knows foreign reject its enemy. Your DNA will be an enemy to my body. And therefore, you have the same thing with all the nations. See? They're enemy by definition because they have their own culture, and you have your own culture. And if you are stuck within that nation, then you're being oppressed because they're enforcing their instructions, their culture on you, which is alien to your culture. Now, if they are successful in installing their mind on your brain, then you will become your own enemy, not knowing. And you'll be self-destructive because you'll be doing whatever they would tend to do to you, you'll be doing it to yourself. So they have successfully saved them a lot of overhead because now you've become your own enemy. And your world is all crumbling, falling apart, and working against you because that's your reality. Your reality is based on your mind. Your reality is based on your mind. Your reality is based on your mind. So if your reality is all screwed up, that's because your mind, you run the wrong mind. I'm saying the mind is screwed up. The mind may be fine. This point is just not your mind. You can put software from one machine, like Apple, onto IBM machine, so to speak, right? And there's nothing wrong with the software. It's just not shouldn't run on that machine. So we need to understand that, brothers and sisters. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to go through this and try to hopefully you'll get understanding of it. Okay, so but now is the time. That's the Arabic word up there. Time of consequence. The God of consequence is on the scene now. If you read this Quranic verse, it says, and at that time, the wrongdoer, the disbelievers were wrongdoers. If you read into that, it says, why had they become the wrongdoers at that particular time? You mean there wasn't wrongdoers before? No, because they had the leverage. During Adam's time, right, then what he did was consistent with the universe at that time. But it's not consistent anymore. He had leverage. He doesn't have it anymore. So let's move on, brothers and sisters. Okay, here we have the brain. The brain you see here is the basic brain that we had prior to coming of Dr. Shabazz. It was a quasi-balance between the right and the left, though the right was dominant, kept the left in check. So 50,000 years ago, this was our basic brain structure. However, there's a couple of things here that KV's missed. Okay, one thing, it says logic on the left, doesn't say logic on the right, which is totally wrong. Because the brain, by definition, it's like muscle, right? It's strength. Well, the brain's by definition logic. That's the base, that's a fundamental aspect of the brain. It's logic. The problem is they don't respect our logic. See, their logic is literal. Our logic is spatial. See? So they look at things in a literal way, and their logic proceeds from there. So they'll take like one fact and try to deduce another fact from that fact, deduce another fact, so forth, so on. We don't do it that way. Our spatial logic is different, see, because we have a comprehensive idea of something, right? And our logic proceeds from there, see, because we can look at a pattern and see that there's something wrong with that pattern. That's pattern logic. They don't have that type of logic. That's why they can't understand the AL-INJIL. They can't understand allegorical language. See, because they'll take and look in the Bible, so to speak. And, well, if this is this and that's that, so forth, so on. When we look at a situation and we see a pattern, see, this pattern doesn't fit. See. So we have logic also. They don't respect our logic. Just like music, right? You hear it, right? You feel it right away. I mean, you know what's right or wrong. Just you don't have to know anything about music, but you can feel it because right? It's a pattern. It's a rhythm. We understand rhythms. That's what I mean. Patterns, rhythms, where they're very linear. So that's a misunderstanding there. So our logic is more powerful as we understand, like I said, allegorical language, patterns, rhythms. So we know if a beat, notice how a beat is off, something's wrong. That's why a lot of people, right, scope Farrakhan right off because there's something wrong with that rhythm, wrong with that beat there. The analytical mind, right? See, because the demons have analytical minds also, because you are what your father is. So if their father, right, analytical, then so are they. They have analytical minds too. See? Okay. So we're gonna call this the gray man, the gray brain. Okay? Which, okay, the gray brain. Why we call that? Because if you, and we're gonna talk about that in a second, we're gonna go in a little more detail. But the original man didn't call himself a black man. He didn't call himself a black man because there was no other man but him or her. We talk about genders. See, so you don't give yourself a name unless you have something to compare it to, or make yourself distinct from something else. You have to go tell other people. Well, you do with these people. You go, I'm a human being. It wasn't necessary to say that because everybody's human beings, right? Until they told us we weren't anymore. So if you're around all men, you have to say, I'm a man. Why? You're everybody's a man. But but now if you're around women, then you have to distinguish. So if there was no other people but us, we'd have to call ourselves black men because there was no other man to compare to. See, and we're going to talk about that in a second, a little more detail. See, so that was the original brain. Okay, let's go to the next. Now, like I said, I call it the gray man because black and white comes out of gray. If you put black and white together, you get gray. Okay, so there's no distinction. So we need to call ourselves the gray man, but I'm using that term now to make the point I intend to make as I move forward in this presentation. Now, because of Dr. Yaqub, Dr. Shabazz, this is the structure we have today. Now, I'm just laying this out before we go into give you some background information before we get into actual presentation so you understand where we're coming from. Dr. Shabazz, the result of his activities, right, isolated the two sides, right? So therefore, you have the right brain and the left brain. So now what you have is isolated. You have an individual, right, whose entire brain is the right. He has the left side of it, true, but both sides are spatial. See? Both sides are spatial. Now, one's a little weaker than the other, but both sides are spatial as a result of his program, a 50,000 year long program. That's on the right. So now you have a person that's spatial. See? Okay, as a result of Dr. Yaqub's process, right, you have the left side isolated. So that's personification of the left side, isolated. See, that's the analytical side. So his whole brain is analytical. He has two sides of it. One a little more weaker than the other, but he still has two sides of it, and it's all analytical. So now you have a distinction, because now that you have a white, then you call black. So now you have white and black. Now you have a distinction. So now you give it a name. So you have the black as opposed to the white. The black is spatial. The white is analytical. And you still have the gray there. One that's, for better term, ambidextrous. That means an ambidextrous person is equal both sides. Like both hands are equal. They use left hand and right hand equally. So you have the left brain person and the right brain person and the ambidextrous person. Those three. That's what we have right now. So those are terms we're going to use. The gray represents the old brain, the original one. The one that existed 50,000 years ago still exists today. And the black represents the new one. And the white represents the new one also. But one is technical and one is spatial. Highly spatial and highly technical. Because if you was able to take and you have so much power in your right hand, so much power in your left hand. So say you got 100 pounds of force in your right hand, 100 pounds of force in your left hand, and you put that in your one hand, then you have 200 pounds of force in that right hand. So look how much powerful you would be. Your left hand would be of no use to you, but the right hand would be twice as powerful as it was before. And that's what you have here. Okay, brothers, let's move on. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the scripture, because we always use scripture here, science or mathematics. So there's a lot, the scripture backs up a lot about what I'm going to talk about. In fact, we're all going to use the scripture here to explain a lot of things. Okay? So just follow closely, pay close attention. Now, one thing I want to say here, remember the scriptures, the Bible, so-called Old Testament, New Testament, is sealed. It can only be unlocked by the angel key. Okay? So understand that. So here we're going to talk about Genesis, because Genesis is the beginning, and it's sealed. It's sealed. So we got to understand, first we got to unlock it before we understand it. Now, one thing here, it talks about separating the waters from the dry land. That's a constant theme. Well, they're not just saying that, because in order to put this in the right sequence, you have to separate those days, because they have 6 days they talk about here, right? You have to separate the days that mention water in it and the days that don't. Because if you don't do that, you're going to get things out of sequence. And if you get them out of sequence, then you understand what I'm getting ready to try to explain to you or show you. Right? So you notice the first one is mentioned waters. It's the first day. Right? In the beginning, God created heavens and earth. Earth was without form and void, and darkness upon the face of the deep. The Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Right? And darkness. See, always moving is darkness. See, but God separated darkness into light and day, white and black. You see, so I'm just telling you, the original brain was darkness, or gray, darkness. See? So, and from the darkness came the light, the day and the night, which the night is dark, is black, and the day is white. That's what he's trying to tell you here. See? So, both came from the darkness. Okay? And that was the first day. Now, each day represents 1,000 years. Those of you who are scripturally literate understand that. Each day represents 1,000 years. But it breaks it down into 2 parts. If we reach each one, they represent the night and the day, right? So that means each one of these days is broken up into two parts, 500 years apiece. One represents the night part, one represents the day part. It's very important to understand that, right? That's why you see here. So we're talking about 6,000 years ago, 4,000 BC to 3,500 BC, and then 3,500 BC to 3,000 BC, right? That represents 1,000 years altogether, okay? Now here is the second day. Now I'm not going into all the details about what these days mean. I've done that previously because I'm getting to another point, so I'm not going to go into say how this corresponds to what happened during those particular periods of time, right? But anyway, here's the second day, right? And notice, right, they mentioned waters again, okay? He separated waters again. And we got two periods again from 3000 BC to 2000 BC. That's 1,000 years, 500 years apart, okay? Second day, it goes back to 3000 BC to 2000 BC. Now here's the third day. Again, notice they mentioned waters again, okay? That's from 2000 BC to 1000 BC. What does BC mean? BC is supposed to mean before Christ. It means before the historical or the person that they tell us was Jesus, the prophet Jesus, 2,000 years ago. See, so it was just a time before he appeared. See, from 2000 BC to 1000 BC. See, that's before him, before Christ. So that's talking about. So here we are at this point. Now we went from 4000 BC to 1000 BC, right? Now, this is the third day. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, what happened to the fourth day? Okay. Because this is the fifth day. See? This is the fifth day. And the fifth day, right, starts the beginning of, no, back up. The fifth day, right, still mention waters. So you separate that because the fourth day, when we get to the fourth day, you're going to see no waters are mentioned. No waters are mentioned. So all the waters will go from the first day, second day, third day, and fifth day. But the fourth and the sixth day, no waters will be mentioned. So now we've solved that part of the problem. Because what we're saying here is that that's part of that's part of the seal is getting these in a proper order. And they keep saying, separating waters from the dry land. That's what it means. So now you do that. Now we got everything in proper order. See? So we got the first day, the second day, third day, and fifth day. Now comes the sixth day. Here comes the fourth day, which is actually the fifth day. So the fifth day is actually the fourth day, right? First day, second day, third day, and fifth day. Fifth day is actually the fourth day. Got put in proper order, right? And then comes the fifth day, which is the fourth day. Hope I didn't confuse you. Okay, this is the real fifth day, which if you look at the time frame here, they put you at 0 AD, right, to 500 AD, 500 AD to 1000 AD. Why is that important? Because that's when it's AD now. They call it after death. I think that's some, you might have some other, but anyway, that's usually what, because they have before Christ and after death, AD, right? So this would be the time of Jesus or the time of Christianity, because that's sprung from his teachings, right? Now we're going over here and look and see what happens, what's this all about, right? During this period of time. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night. Let there be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, Let it be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. It was, and God made two great lights, the great light to rule the day, lesser light to rule the night. Also made the stars also. See? And remember, this is two parts, morning and evening and morning were the fourth day. So it's two parts. So he says he made the greater light to move to rule the day. Who is day? Remember, the day and the night. He changed from the darkness. He brought day and night. The day would be the white, and the night would be the dark. So the day, that's Yakub. See? And the night would be Dark Shabazz, the black. Okay? Let's go back up into, right, in the first day. See, 6,000 years ago is when he brought Yakub into existence, Yakub's creation into existence. But we was already on scene because Dark Shabazz started his process 50,000 years ago. Okay? So there was a darkness, and he brought from the light and the dark. The light represents the Caucasians, and the dark represents the Dark Shabazz, right? Process, or the seed of Abraham. We'll leave it like that. So he says, at that period of time, now remember, this is broken into two parts. So what he says, and let there be light from heaven, divide the day from the night. So so it's going to be division between day and night, the white and the black, right? See, and let there be for signs for season, right? So in other words, so let's go further. And let the lights be in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. Light was upon the earth. Remember, the earth is European countries. Understand the angel now. Earth represents European countries, right? And so light went to them. And God made two great lights, the greater light, right? To rule the day, that's Caucasians, the greater light will rule them. And less light to rule the night. What does that mean? The greater light to rule the day. So in other words, he gave a light to rule the day. Now they tell you that's the sun and the moon. That's what they try to tell you because that's what they think, right? What are you talking about? Remember, this is 500 years. 500 years and 500 years. So what happens is that first light, right, represents the first 500 years from after death, 2,000 years ago, for 500 years. That would be the greater light. That's the Bible. As Prophet Jesus gave the Bible. That's the greater light. He gave it to the Caucasians. That's the Bible. That's the greater light. And when the Quran comes, the lesser light that would go to, right, to the blacks. That would come 500 years later. That's exactly what happened. The Quran was revealed 500 years later after the Bible was revealed. 500 years later. Is that a coincidence? That's exactly what they're telling you here. But the Quran is a lesser light. The Bible is a greater light. The Bible is the greater light. The Quran is a lesser light. Now let's dwell into that. Just dwell into that for a minute. Okay. The Bible, the unlocked Bible, unsealed Bible. No, the sealed Bible. The sealed Bible, that's what Jesus gave to them. The sealed Bible. That is the mind of the Caucasians. Unsealed. The Bible, that's where it's written. It's written in that way, and they read it literally. The way they read it, that's the way it's supposed to be, because that's their mind. When you see the Bible unsealed, when you see the Bible sealed, when you read it sealed, right, that is their mind. Like I'm explaining to you, these scriptures are your mind. Your religion is your mind. And that Bible is their mind. So when it's written that, when you read it sealed, right, you read in their mind. That is their mind. That's what they think. That's their religion. And it makes sense to them because that's the way, it's their mind. It's an analytical, what unsealed is analytical. So that is their mind. See? Now the Quran, that's the mind of the gray man. Remember we started the gray man? That's the one, that's the brain before it was isolated. That's what the Quran is. See? So what is that all about? The Quran was given to the gray mind. And that gray mind separated the dark from the white. It pushed the Caucasians up into Europe and pushed us down into Africa. And they're setting on our land in the Middle East, which everybody's fighting over now. That's the gray mind. The Quran was given to them because it runs on their mind. That's the mind for them. That's the mind for them. The Quran is the mind for the gray mind. See, they've corrupted a lot of it, but the point is that runs on their brains because they still have a gray brain. See, they have the gray brain, but we were given, right? But was given to us also. See, now it was given to the gray brain. It's also given to us, but that's not our mind. See, because our mind was taken from us, and so that mind was given to us. It will run on our brains, but it's not our mind because it's designed for the gray brain. Hope you understand that. That's Ishmael. See, he's seen Abraham also, but he has the gray brain. You see, he was the first son. The second son, right, had the black brain. Okay? Hope you understand that. Let me say it again if I need to. The sealed Bible is the mind of Yaqub's creation. The Quran, right, is the mind of the pre-Yaqub, pre-Shabazz man, the gray brain. See? And that brain, right, was used to slow down Dr. Yaqub for a while. See? Because in fact it was supposed to protect us from Dr. Yaqub, but they failed. That's what it says that flaming sword was protecting the tree of life from Adam and Eve. That's what it's talking about. To keep Adam and Eve from going after it. Adam and Eve is Yaqub's creation. The tree of life is us. They were supposed to be in the middle to protect us from them, and they failed. So, okay. Hope you understand. So let's move on to the next. Okay, the sixth day. Now this tells you what? 1000 to 1500 AD, 1500, 2000 AD. Okay, what does that mean? 2,500-year periods. Well, right now we're in the last part, 1500 to 2000 AD. Right, this is the last part. Okay, now we're in the heat of the mind wars. Because how it starts, when they talk about 6th day here, that's not Adam and Eve they're talking about. Read it carefully. Because people think when you go to talk about Adam and Eve in the next chapter, they think this is talking. No, if you read it carefully, Adam and Eve, they came into existence 6,000 years ago, right? This has nothing to do with it. This is us. This is us. Because we're being recreated in the image of God. See? So we had to take and have that old mind removed. We had to be given a new mind. See, because we had the old mind We also had, well, we had the old mind running. And now we need a new mind. And so if you read this carefully, right, it's talking about we'll be made in the image and we have rule over everything. That's not Adam and Eve they're talking about there. It says, if you read it carefully, it says, let the earth bring forth, let me get down a little further. Okay, here you go. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created him. Male and female created he them. It's not so Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve. Adam was created first, then Eve came later on. And God blessed them, and God said, bless them. Adam and Eve were blessed. And God said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish. Why replenish the earth? Why replenish it? What was wrong with it? Adam and Eve had messed it up. Replenish it and subdue it. See, he got out of control. And dominion over every fish, sea, and over foul air, and everything living that moves upon the earth. See? So that's the period we are right now. It's the last 500. What happens here? Mind wars. Because first, right, we was taken and we brought in captivity with the great mind, the Quran. Still wasn't our mind, but we could use it. Because the great mind, remember, it has spatial and analytical. See, but we was looking at it from the spatial side. And that's why we ran into trouble with the Sunnis. That's why Shia runs from the Sunnis, because they look at it from the spatial side. The Quran, if you look at it, read it carefully, you can look at it from both sides. And they look at it from the analytical side, or, well, let me back up. They're looking at it from ambidextrous. That's Ishmael, right? See? And you have us, we're looking at it from the spatial side. We still believe in the Quran. We saw it from the spatial side. They ain't like that. And I talked about this before, how, well, you know, why they betray us and all those kind of things. But I want you to point out, I was talking from my point of view here. See? So we brought in captivity first. They removed that mind. And then they installed their mind, the Bible, which is the analytical mind, which is enemy to us because we have a spatial mind. We have a spatial brain, and that software does not run on that. If you install that software, that Bible software on our brains, right, we'll be enemy to ourselves because that's the mind of Yahoo's creation. The sealed Bible, right, is the mind of Yahoo's creation. That's their mind. It's sealed. But that's the way they see it. When you read it sealed, like we've been taught it, Adam and Eve, serpent, all that kind of stuff, that's their mind. See, both of them was together. See? And you had the Suleiman had to come and separate them. Turn water to wine. It separate them. See? So, hey, that's the interpretation for them. But no, this is proper because unsealed it, therefore it revealed the other side. Both of them was together. Remember the brain was together, then you had to separate them? That's what it's trying to tell you, brothers and sisters. That when you read that sealed, that's their mind. That's the way they think. And so it justified all the stuff they was doing because that's their mind. But that's not what it was saying. On the surface, it was they're saying that way because that's the way they read it. See? But Suleiman had to come and release, right, the spatial side. And that's your true mind. That's what it's all about right here because we had to go through this 500-year period. The firm, you know, we'd be in the tried in the furnace of affliction for 500 years. We had to be made new. See, we had to first get rid of all the old minds, because it wasn't going to run our brains. They tried to run, right, the Quran on our brains. We could use it, but it didn't work. Then they tried to use, right, the Bible, the sealed Bible, and that worked against us altogether, totally against us. And it got people thinking backwards, thinking against themselves, destroying themselves as the demon-possessed man. Remember, he had lost his mind, he didn't have his mind. That's what it's all about, brothers and sisters. Mind wars. And so now they have us destroying ourselves. And that's what Truman had to come and unlock it and reveal the spatial mind. Now, the unlocked Bible, and when those of you have been studying, you know the unsealed Bible is totally different from the sealed Bible. It says something, it's totally different. There's no connection. It means something totally different. Like they look at Exodus like it's history, like it's something that happened in the past. It's things like that. And now when you see we actually live in it. And you see it's totally different. But it came out of there. Because both of them was together. The spatial and analytical mind was together in the Bible. And so they had it first, remember? They got it first. It was given to them. See? The greater light, that's the greater light. The Bible's a greater light and was given to them, right? Sealed. See? Was unsealed, right? Then the space, because it's still the greater light. Both of them, right? It was greater light. That means it was superior to the Quran. It's a greater light. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. That's what we're dealing with. Hope I didn't get too complicated here. I'm just trying to understand, trying to walk you through this, because this is scripture right here. All this stuff is in there. It's a lot more I'm not talking about, but I'm telling you, all the stuff, all the secrets and everything are right in there. What's going on? See? So now, right? Now your mind, right, is ready to be installed. But what happened? See? That's why you got the demons. Remember, they got the same mind. The Bible is their mind also. That's their mind also. And you got the main demon. What's the main demon doing? Farrakhan. See, he's trying to put that mind back on you. We sinful. We bought this because we're sinful. It's not what angel is saying, but that's what it's saying. That's what the Bible is saying. The sealed Bible is saying that. We bought here, we're sinful. That means if we bought here because we're sinful, that means we deserved everything we got. Everything happened, we deserve. That means we deserve everything that happened to us. Because we're being punished. That means the slave master, he's blameless. He's innocent. Because he was just punishing us, doing God's will. That's what Farrakhan's telling you. He's telling you, master's good. Nothing wrong with master, something wrong with you. And now this plague is punishing us, not them. Listen to him. That's demon teaching. Because he thinks the same way. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's wrap this up. The mind wars. The war between the spatial mind and analytical mind. Dr. Yaqub and Dr. Shabazz. Both cannot rule. One has to dominate the other. The spatial mind dominated the analytical mind for trillions of years until a time of energy deprivation and where this analytical mind started asserting itself. So it's not a bad thing. What's bad about it is that it perfects our, well, let me put it this way. It perfects our creation. The problem is that the analytical mind is rebellious by nature and refuses to submit to the spatial mind. So that's why you have mind wars to bring it under control. That's actually part of the nature of the creation, because as we bring a new being into creation, everything in creation, all life came from us. The Quran teaches you that, right? So every time we start out bringing simple forms of life into existence, got more and more complicated until this time at the end of the universe expansion, we bring out the most complicated. That means we separate the analytical from the spatial. But every time we bring in a new life form into it, we give it a degree of independence. So it finds its way into the creation. And then we bring it under control. See, it has to fit into creation. So that's the same thing. We allow them independence, right? And now we have to bring them into submission. But he's the most complicated. And so he refused to submit. So we have to that's mind wars. We will bring the analytical mind into submission. Fraud is the captain of that process. See? But before that happens, time of unprecedented trouble. Because every time we take and bring a new creation into existence, right? It's a process. Like I said, we give it a degree of independence so it can find a way to creation. But the process of bringing it into submission is always a conflict. And each time the conflicts become greater and greater and greater. Every animal you see out there presented a degree of resistance upon bringing it into submission. And so this one, the last of our creation, a beast that will speak to us, a sounding clay, a beast raised up from the earth that will speak to us, the most complex, the most powerful, it's a God too. It's an analytical God. We're a spatial God. And he's the hardest one. It's time unprecedented trouble. The battle will be more significant, be worse ever, because we have to bring it under submission. Both gods cannot rule. And he wants to bring us into submission. The problem with his problem is he cannot survive in his biological frame, because he's opposed to nature by definition, because our creation is a spatial creation. He's analytical. That's why he has so much trouble with it. That's why he's poisoned. That's why he has so much this global warming, all this stuff going on, because he's alien to our creation. He has to bring a new creation. He can't live under our creation biologically. He cannot live it in that form. That's why he's analytical. He's machine orientated. So he wants to make robots and all kinds of AI and all that kind of stuff. That's his creation. He has to bring that into existence to survive. So he cannot stay in his biological form to live in this universe if he was able to bring us under submission to him. He has an unsubmission, but he's not able to bring us untold submission. He's tried. He's tried. The only way he can do it, he's finally come to realization, the only way he can do it is he has to get rid of us. He has to get rid of us. He's come to that conclusion, right? But he knows he has set up a mechanical world. He has to become mechanical himself to live on in this creation. He has to really remake the creation to survive. Build this mechanical world. That's what he's in the process of doing, as you see on the left there. But even then, he still can't be totally mechanical, because the brain itself, right? He cannot come up with a mechanical brain that would house his consciousness. He can come up with mechanical brains, but there will be robots. It wouldn't be him. His consciousness Consciousness is biological, it's not mechanical. So he has to maintain the brain, but the rest of the body he can take and make mechanical. So he can't totally get rid of creation. That's the problem. So he's come to the realization that he has to get rid of us in order to survive. That's where we are, brothers and sisters. And build his mechanical universe. Well, he can't change the entire universe, but his mechanical world. That's what he's doing. He's in the process of doing it. He needs us for to create the creativity to perform it, because he's technical. A technical person is infinite without specs, without blueprints. You need a creative in order to take that technical ability to make it happen. You know, being it is, we the be, right? But you have to have the be before you have the is. That it is. That's what I mean by mind wars, brothers and sisters. Hope you understand. That's what we're up against. That's he's up against. Now he's failing. Right, he's under biological attack right now, which he cannot withstand. All his whole universe is crumbling before his eyes. He's under severe stress. Everything under his dominion, right, is under stress. And his stress is increasing. Everything. From his politics, his education, his medical, right, his whatever, industrial, everything, military, religion, all of it is under extreme stress, and all the nations are pushing against it. See? So he will fail. And then we had a problem of the gray man. They're still around. That's an enemy also, because they status quo. Well, right now the status quo is the analytical mind. He has control. But this gray mind, the old mind, right? That's Ishmael. He wants to stop us also. He wants to stop both of us. He wants to stop us and them. And the Shia represents us also, but they're the technical side of us. But they're the one in submission. There's one Farad has control of. See? So the gray mind is in opposition to all of it. They're the jinn, resist. See? They was told to submit to Adam, the technical mind. Well, that's another story I talked about previously. I'm not going to talk about it now. They refuse. They're the jinn. They have control over our lands, our religion, everything, our holy places, all of it. We're going to take it back in a minute. Because now it's time for the new mind. Remember, we talked about in the 6th day, may God, we make man in our image and our likeness. Not talking about make white people in the image and likeness. That's not what it's talking about. It seems like it. That's not what it's talking about. Because read it carefully. Adam and Eve, read the story of Adam and Eve. That's not, they're talking about Adam and Eve. Talking about us. 5 years, we make us. See, because we had to have our minds wiped clean, prepare for installation. We can't be having to run an old mind and trying to install a new mind on top of it. And that was part of what Elijah was supposed to do. Farad gave him, right, instructions to clean our minds of all that garbage. Prepare it, right? That's why he prepared way before me. Prepare for the angel to be uploaded. That's what that's all about. But you got Farrakhan, Aaron trying to try to turn hearts back to Egypt. The golden calf. What's the golden calf, right? That's Sunnism. That's the Quran. That's why it says, got rid of the golden calf. Because that's the old man. You have to pay attention, bro, sis. Then that stuff start making sense to you. Say, why would he be against Sunnism? It's not, Sunnism is okay, but it's for another time. It's the old mind. Now we're talking about the new mind. That's the angel. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. See, he's trying to give us back the old mind. Any mind but our mind. He cannot understand the angel. It's impossible. He could never have broken the seals because you take a spatial mind to do it. 100% spatial, well, nearly 100%, because none of us have 100% spatial. It's primarily because you got to have a little analytical there in order to be able to communicate with the analytical side. Like the analytical has that little spatial to communicate. Just like the male and the female, right? Each male has a little female in them, and each female has a little male in them in order to communicate. You understand, brothers and sisters? So Elijah was supposed to prepare the way before me, for Suleiman. See, get your minds ready. That's what the Levites were supposed to do. Get your mind ready to be uplifted with the AL-INJIL. And so lying Farrakhan's demons, they're trying to either get you upload the Quran, which is the old mind, or get you with their interpretation of the Bible. You're sinful and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's the sealed Bible. That's the Cave's mind. He's trying to install either one of those lines, any one of those minds on you. Anything, but he can't install the original mind. He doesn't the new mind because he doesn't know it himself. He couldn't do it anyway if he wanted to. See, and that's Suleiman's job, is to install, see, the new mind. See, but it's a little more difficult because your mind should have been cleaned by Elijah, so you upload it right away. But now Farrakhan's come and polluted it with all this garbage, so now that has to be removed because you have to get rid of both. You can't run both software systems on your brain. Just they won't work. They're incompatible. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Okay. Like I said, this is book 2, Mind Wars. See what you see there in that picture there, Mind Wars. Okay. 2 visions. They have no choice. They cannot live in the universe in the biological form. They see the universe is turned against them. The Quran says it would be. Said be all, the waves roaring and everything because of what man's hands have wrought. If they continue, they would make it worse. They would make a place uninhabitable. For us biological, but you see what's happening right now. That's why they have to take and come up with a mechanical brain. It's not a mechanical brain, but a mechanical body to live in this mechanical world. They bring it in because the biological world, they stay destroying. And destruction is going to come for you. You're going to be the one destroyed by it if they were successful because you're still biological. And even if they was to prevail, you think they would let you transform into a mechanical being like them? Think about it. You see people driving around Lamborghinis, right? Is anyone come and say, here's a Lamborghini for you? You got to afford it. Can you afford with this $1 million body they come up with when they come up with it? $1 million or $5 million body? Can you afford it? So they run around with this body, right? That is not affected by viruses and all these other things and weather and all the stuff that you're gonna be, that you're gonna be exposed to, that your biological body is gonna be tearing your body, that's gonna be failing under, that you're gonna cancer and everything else that your biological body cannot withstand, cannot survive. When their mechanical body can, how long you think you would live under those conditions? Do you understand, brothers and sisters? They're making this world uninhabitable for you. They got all kinds of ways to get rid of you. Abortion, whatever, but now this is another way, this global warming, everything, that's to get rid of biological beings because they're trying to transition to this mechanical being which will be oblivious to those forces. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Mind wars. Assalamu alaikum.